Hello, everyone, and welcome to Innovation Coffee. Today, Halloween special. Alessandro, cheers. How am I going here? Is it going to tap the blood bag? Oh my God, your costume is just amazing. I can't believe it.
I've got my coffee. Today's a special one. It's blood coffee.
And I'm drinking out of a horn. I think fitting to the costumes. You are a vampire, I'm guessing.
Yes, I'm a vampire.
It's funny because you have the blood coming down the side of your mouth, and you're
because I'm drinking blood.
Yeah. Oh, this is great. Cool. So real quick, everyone, welcome to Innovation Coffee. Today is October 29th on this side of the world. I think it's the same everywhere right now. And this is a very special brew of Innovation Coffee, the Halloween special. And as you can tell, we did kind of go all out. Surprisingly, Alessandro and I seem to have bought the same decorations, and we are ready to go. In today's episode, we are going to be talking with some of our ARM innovators about some spooky tech situations that they may have been in. Dara Graylish, who joins us as well, will be talking to us about the history of Halloween, an Irish background, an Irish holiday. And then Alessandro has a really cool demo. So this is going to be definitely an exciting hour. I hope you'll stick with us. And if you have any cool costumes, or if you're dressed up with us drinking some coffee, make sure that you take a picture, hashtag Innovation Coffee on Twitter, tag @ARM Software Dev. We'll love to share that with the people, with the community later. So Alessandro, do we want to do a recap of last week's episode before we dive into
Sounds good. Sounds good. So before we do that, I just wanted to say that it's really funny because we didn't really prepare this. We didn't show each other what we were going to do, right? So I was super surprised to see you, Robert, with that on.
Are you ready? Are you ready for this?
Yeah, and this is it's fun because I think we weren't really expecting what. I didn't know what you were going to do, and we have some other surprises. So I'm really excited about today's episode. And before we get started, as Robert was saying, we should do a little recap about last time because we had an awesome episode last time. Even though you probably don't take us seriously now because we're dressed like this, but the episode last time was very professional. We had the community manager from PX4 Drone Code, and it was awesome to talk about drones and the open source community that they've built. So it was really interesting to hear their stories and all the technology, all the great technology, software and hardware that they've been promoting in the last few years. So yeah, it was an awesome episode, and if you haven't watched it, you can go back to our YouTube and watch it. And I think now we're ready to kick off this episode, and we should probably invite our guests in. Woo! Let's bring him on. So we've got Sahaj and Dara. Hey!
I love it so much. You even turned your lights down, Dara, since from the green room, now it even looks spookier.
Yeah, exactly. Turn it off. Boom.
Cheers. I hope you all have a cup of coffee or mead or there you go. But welcome to Innovation Coffee.
My coffee got too scared and ran away.
My coffee is getting cropped out of the image.
I can't get over Alessandro sipping from his blood bag. It's so sophisticated.
My coffee is still good.
Yes. Cool. So I thought that it would be really fun to start this off, right, with kind of everyone telling us who you are. Like, what are you dressed as? And maybe walk us through what's going on. Because I know, Sahaj, you did some pretty cool stuff. DIY setup there. Dara, it looks like you have some cool stuff. You had your kids help you set that up. So maybe we could start with you, Dara. What are you dressed as, and what you got going on behind you?
Oh, me? Yeah. So I'm dressed. I was going to look at the package. So apparently, yes, I'm someone who what's it called? It reminds me of someone who has to cut up old dead horses or old horses. So I think I'm just like lumberjack who was told, look, sorry, you can't cut trees down anymore, but you can cut up the horses there and bury them. So So I think someone who has an axe and whatever and gets cut up.
So if any of us ever have a horse that we need taken care of, we just call Dara up.
But yeah, so the last time I was on here was talking about agri-tech. One of the other darker sides of farming, and it leads into the background of Halloween is the fact that animals die and you have to chop them up and bury them in the ground. You don't want to bury them all complete. You need to make space.
I was expecting today's episode to go a little to the dark side. Maybe not so quickly, but we did it. All right.
Dark side.
Awesome. Sahaj, what about you? You seem to have something crazy going on over there.
Yeah, well, so lack of costume availability here pushed me to do this. It's a simple OpenCV script, and I'm just a floating head. It basically like tracks my face and crops it over a spooky background. Pushes it through as a virtual webcam, and here you go. You have a floating head. Ooh.
You were saying that you wanted to maybe add some more stuff to that, but you weren't able to do it in time.
Yeah, so I was sort of planning on flying bats and blood dripping down my neck and stuff like that, but it just like conversion between alpha and transparency channels, and it was too short notice.
It's all right. It's all right. Next time.
I love that we also have a little helper there with Dara.
Yes. You want to introduce yourself? Who are you?
Kianin.
Did you bring your lightsaber? Are we gonna duel?
Oh, I got this.
You got the lightsaber.
No, I didn't. But I got this. I got one.
Oh, you're gonna go get
it. Failed the first spooky test.
Yes. Cool.
Awesome. So, Robert, what are you dressed as?
All right, here we go. Okay, I'm going to show you the whole setup here. Are you ready? I am a Viking with magic powers. Okay, so first of all, I can shoot fire out of my hands. Are you ready? I just lit the candle. Okay, before you laugh or anything, this took me hours to figure out. All right, but I can also blow out the candle, right? So now we're good. But I'm a Viking. All right, so I'm a Viking with magic powers, and I can light candles with my hand. But I also enjoy what Dara enjoys, which is butchering things on the side. And so I got a nice little bloody setup here. Maybe I'll keep some of this on for a while because it did take me so long to set up, and I think we'll keep it on for a minute. Yeah. What about you, Alessandro?
I think people want to know how you did that. So there's I shot you out. He's asking. I think he wants to probably not reuse the same animation, but maybe some other type of animation next time. Can you share with us a little bit of what you did?
Yeah, absolutely. So StreamYard, and I think a lot of streaming services. So we use StreamYard here. A lot of streaming services allow you to tap into what they call a virtual camera. So with programs like OBS, which I think stands for Open Broadcasting Software, allow you to activate a virtual camera. So within OBS, I set up a bunch of scenes. So like I have I can clear the scenes. And by the way, I'm using a device here called a Stream Deck. So it's a piece of hardware that taps into all these different areas. But so I have a button here that activates the fireball scene, and then another button that activates the candle. It's so silly. And then one here that just activates a little and then I hit a button that blows it out, right? But these are all different scenes. And so you just hit a button to activate the scene. I also did one in case Alessandro says something silly.
Oh, I love that.
So don't say anything silly because that's a rip. But yeah, so OBS tied in through a virtual camera into StreamYard. Hope you all try it out. Let me know if you find any cool overlays. El Gato.
Awesome.
Yes, it is. Carlo's asking. It's the El Gato Stream Deck.
Okay, so I guess it's my turn. I'm obviously dressed as a. I'm not dressed actually. I am a vampire, right? And you could tell from. I mean, who else? Who else will drink blood, right? So I'm. I'm excited to be with you today. I've never been on this show before as a vampire, so there's always a first time. And no, I'm really excited actually. I think so. I've got one thing to show that will clarify. Also, I've got something that will tell you what I am, right? So I've got a bit of computer vision that will tell you who I am. So we'll try that later. Stay tuned.
I love that. So in the effort to make this broadcast a little more exciting, I mean, of course, we could sit here in costumes and talk about all sorts of silly Halloween stuff. But I'm really glad, Alessandro. Thank you for pulling off a demo, because now we have a demo to look forward to at the end of the show, or at some point. So I think, what about kicking today off with a history lesson? Alessandro, can I get a second vote on that? Because I think Dara has a pretty cool history lesson for us.
I'm ready.
Yeah. All right, Dara, history of Halloween. I did not know this was an Irish holiday, or at least started as an Irish holiday. And so Dara is going to enlighten us and give us a little bit of a background on Halloween. You're up, Dara. I don't know if
You
you
hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, there you are.
Yes. So this is where's my screen? Oh, there's the screen. Cool. So this is like a little text I found. It's actually from my mother, honestly. I couldn't find more complete information altogether on the web. Even the URL is broken. So it's inside the document, but it's cool. So Halloween in Irish stands for Samhain, somehow pronounced in Irish, Samhain. And essentially it's like a years old tradition that celebration, and used to be not the main celebration of the time. It's after the harvest. So essentially it's like the day before, the 1st of November, All Saints Day, and the 2nd of November, it's All Souls Day. And essentially it's a celebration of death, and the people of the dead, people who are dead. And it comes from this, in the Celtic calendar, this symbolic kind of celebrates, because what ends up happening is, all the fruits and vegetables, the turnips, like I'll show you later, the turnips, apples and everything, they all get, kind of like, ripe and everything, and they have to store them for the winter. So it's at the end of the harvest. And of course, everyone's really working really hard. Right now, you see here they're drawing in the sugar beet and storing it for the winter and distributing it. So the celebration of this, is essentially it's during in the winter, and you have like bonfires as you see today. Also the food like barn a brack. This is like an old cake where you hide a silver coin inside, and the whole purpose is that if you not every cake has a silver coin. It's to show kind of of wealth and everything, and to try and kind of make something special out of what they had. And so you have a rag like the poverty, to demonstrate the poverty is, and it's wrapped in a rag, and then it's made of a kind of some old flour and everything, and they put this together, and then they hide a silver coin. I'm sure as you see it in the UK, this starts popping around the shops everywhere. Then there's the bonfires that you see as well. Usually happens between the 31st and the 1st of November. This is like to scare away the spirits, the bad spirits and everything. So everyone lights up fires. They go around, celebrate the evening, and they dress up. The whole idea of dressing up is that you disguise oneself so that the spirits would think that you are one of them. So actually this is the whole to celebrate them, so they don't come down and put evil tricks on us. And then that's where the trick and treat comes out. They're going from door to door as a tradition with food and kinding and exchanging money and prayers, in offering with the dead. So that's the kind of trick or treat side of it. Then there's the more scary side of it, where you have like the jack o' lantern, the where we light up a pumpkin, and then the puka, Puhan is like this horse, that is a very special, fierce horse with red eyes. It's known to like abduct children and adults into the fairyland, and roams around the night before Halloween and everything. And this is also kind of brings part of the spookiness and the reasons why you want to disguise yourself away from the spirits. And then there's the
So did you capture the fuka and dismember it? I don't know, kill it? Aren't you the horse killer?
Oh yeah, yeah. I was saying, yeah. At some point, you have to, chop that guy up with an axe. Actually, the house story comes from this website. This is the funniest website ever. Don't even reply.com, but we'll show you it later. So yes, I mean exactly. You want to it's just myths and stuff that it prevents. The idea is to prevent children from eating rotten and decayed fruit. And so this is they say that fruit lives and dies like we do as well. Fruits and vegetables. Then I mean I guess you've seen this where you have to put your hands behind your back and try and pick an apple out and everything. That's bobbing of the apple. That tradition also comes from one of the celebrations. You reward yourself by managing to pick a fruit, pick a pear or an apple out of a barrel. And what we see today is they dip them in chocolate syrup and everything. They put a stick in it and everything. So this is coming from this tradition, the bobbing of an apple. And then what was else? So the most interesting one I find is definitely this like lantern. It evolved from the fact that it's the you have to walk around with some sort of burning amber. So you'd have a big bonfire. There'd be little like burning ambers and everything from before. And I have a little scary guy here. But what'll end up happening is they would have to, roam around and go from house to house at night. So what they do is they just dig a hole inside a sugar beet or what's a root vegetable, so the turnip. I remember eating turnips every day, every week around this time in Ireland because there were so many of them. And essentially they, you cut out this and put the burning amber. But of course there was more plentiful of pumpkins around, and then it adopted into the pumpkins. And that's where we see, the pumpkins. But pumpkins is too soft and heavy to kind of put a string around and carry it, It's too soft and heavy. So that's the history, believe it or not. We weren't able to make it as popular as the Americans could.
The turnip looks surprisingly more scary and more freaky than a pumpkin. I mean, that just looks a little disturbing, if that is a turnip there.
Yeah, like a dried up mummy or something.
Yeah.
And it's like a jack-o'-lantern. I love it. And we have something like this as well here in Switzerland. It's called Rebelückli an Zug. Rebelückli. It's another type of kind of ground vegetable, that's stuck in the ground, and you have to shovel it out. And in actually fact, the reason why I have a little robot arm back there was because I was trying to make a way to rip it out with like a drill and a little head. Because what ends up happening is the school calls you in and says we're going to do this. What they do is they do a tour of it. So it's like this turnip here you see, except it's a bit wide and bigger, and you have to gut out everything in between, put a little candle inside, and then basically roam around at night around this time in the year. It's in November, and just sing Rebelückli an Zug, and the kids do it. Now all the adults come there before, around a few hours before, all the daddies, and we have to do it by hand with a spoon. And you can imagine, it's a heavy ground, sticky vegetable. You just feel like, give me the drill and just like gut it out. And I thought, hey, why don't we just imagine like a pumpkin where you could like take a picture of it, both sides, get a measurement, and then simulate that in the cloud, and then get an idea of what I need to gut out, because they're always the same. They always have the seeds inside. You need to keep them, and then you could actually go in and actually create. There you see Sahaj with his pumpkin in the face. Really cool idea.
Yeah, Sahaj is a floating pumpkin, and with his little pumpkin friend.
Yeah. So that's the history of the Irish Halloween tradition. Samhain. I know I'm going to be killed at the end of this for not pronouncing that right.
Yeah. No, I mean that's
Pretty
awesome. Thanks
cool.
for sharing.
Yeah, I never knew all that. Like that's a lot of learning actually. I didn't realize that it wasn't actually I thought it was an English tradition, but I didn't really know what the background was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's religious and kind of Irish tradition. That comes definitely from the church as well, and the farmers and the celebration of the farmers.
I don't know. One of my favorite things about Halloween, like I don't drink often, right? Like I'm not a big drinker, but I do love beer, right? And I love beer, like coffee beer, vanilla beer, pumpkin beer. So like during this time of the year, you get these very like rare beers that start to come out, and I think that's when I end up drinking those beers. But yeah, pumpkin beer, pumpkin ale. I'm very excited to get like some unique pumpkin ale that comes out. Yeah, I thought it was American. Carlo brings up a question here. Who thought Halloween was American? I think that's what, but that's what Dara said, right? Like Halloween, maybe Halloween is the American version of it. The one that Dara is referring to is what Halloween kind of came from. So Halloween maybe is like the Western version of what's the name of that it's called there, Dara? Pull that back up.
Samhain. So
yeah, Samhain. Yeah.
Yeah, Samhain, and I shared a resource there. This is a good article or description about Halloween and the Irish connections and the Irish tradition where it comes from.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, Halloween's my favorite holiday, hands down, my favorite holiday. So, very excited. It's my first time living in an area where I think we're actually going to get trick-or-treaters too. So we bought like a bunch of candy. Hopefully going to be giving some of that out. Yeah, cool. Awesome. So Alessandro, I don't know, did you have anything that the next thing I was hoping to cover here is I mean, in the spirits of Halloween, no pun intended, talking about a spooky tech, something that's happened to you in spooky tech. I mean, this could just be an experience that you may have scared you on the job, an experience that may have spooked you when applying for a position or working with some sort of technology. I know Dara has some. I don't know, Sahaj, if you thought of one. I think I have one. Alessandro, I don't know if you have one, but maybe after we go through some spooky tech stories, we can jump into your demo, Alessandro.
Sounds good. I'm excited. I want to hear about the spooky tech stories.
Yeah, while you think of one.
Yeah, exactly. I think you should start, Robert. Even though you brought this up.
No. Dara starts. Dara or Sahaj starts. What do you think, Sahaj? You want to go?
I have a couple. I can start with one.
Okay.
So, when I was really young, I was getting into electronics, and like spinning motors with battery eliminators was sort of my favorite time pass to do. And one fine day, my tiny little brain thought it would be fun to plug that motor directly into a 240 volt outlet. Plug that in, got a massive shock because, of course, like the motor body itself is metal and it's grounded. Broke like the tripper tripped. I don't think I ever told anyone about it till now. And then I've kind of been sort of hands off from main voltage messing about, unless it comes to like relays or something. But that sort of drew me away from mains voltages for a while.
It's funny that every time you bring your hand up to your face, it's not funny actually, it's interesting, right? Every time you bring your hand up, it disappears, right? Because I guess
So there's like a box at the back. So if I cover my face entirely, that box starts to show up. There it is, and for some reason it's always been detected as a face by this script.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I think many of us, or maybe many of us, are going to have stories about maybe getting electrocuted or almost getting electrocuted. Yeah. But I like, I'll share one of mine here now because I like what David W. just brought up in the chat. He says, what were your scariest professional or otherwise moments? And he brings up a bumpy flight. And I really want to share this because I'm a terrified flyer. Okay. And surprisingly enough, in this job that we travel a lot. I mean, not during COVID, of course, like at all, but before COVID, it's a pretty travel intensive position. You know, you're at events and you're meeting with people and working pretty much nonstop at these events. And anyways, so I was flying out of one location and to another. I think it was a 2-hour flight on my way to a conference. And we get about a half an hour into the air. And no joke, like, again, I'm a terrified flyer. I'm listening to all the sounds, things that I'm used to hearing, things that I'm used to feeling. And like right when we get into the air, I noticed something I've just never noticed before. 100 flights, whatever I've been on, and I've never noticed this before. And I noticed that like right under my feet, like where I'm sitting, and I was lucky I was upgraded to first class on this one because of my status or whatever. But I was sitting right in the front seat, and my feet just start like vibrating, and then it stops. And then it starts again vibrating, and then it stops. About 10 minutes of this, I'm like, this just doesn't feel normal. The plane just goes whoosh, flips to like a side, and then all of a sudden pulls this huge U-turn, right? Now, I've been in a plane when it makes a big turn like that before, but this was a really big turn. Pilot gets on the megaphone and says, all right, folks, I'm not going to be able to do this verbatim. He's like, all right, folks, I don't want you all to worry, but we appear to have some of our sensors appear to have triggered in our right engine. Instead of trying to make it to the next airport, since we're only about 30 minutes out of where we took off, we're going to just turn around and head back. Again, I don't want you to not bank slightly. Not bank slightly. It did a 360, a barrel roll. No, but yeah. So now we're heading back, right? I still feel this noise. Turns out it was nothing, right? But you know, I'm sitting next to this guy that's trying to calm me down, and I was afraid for my life. That was pretty much it. End of story. Happy Halloween. I didn't die. I'm still here, and the plane survived. Turns out there's like triple redundancies, and you know, 2 of the 3 sensors or something triggered, which is why they turned around. So it was like if it was one sensor, they would have kept going. But the reason they turned around, it was because it was a double trigger on an engine sensor that motivated them to turn around. The captain came back and talked to us and told us all like in person. It was really good experience once we landed. Yeah. So there you go. Who's next?
Should we take a break? I go for the demo so we all find out who I am for real, and then we go back to spooky story. So I give Dara a bit more time to come up with his spooky story.
Sounds good. Demo time.
Cool. So let me share my screen. So I've got something that I'm really excited about. And the reason why I'm really excited about it is because this took me literally like probably, I don't know, I would say maybe an hour, right? And just because I'd never done it before. But what I've managed to do is actually to get an OpenMV, right? To recognize different objects right on the board, right? And the cool thing about this is that this OpenMV is running a Cortex M7, right? So it's a really, really tiny device. We've talked about TinyML before, and you know, I'm always amazed when I actually get it to run on my own device, right? Because you sometimes you hear stories, right? Like talking about Halloween stories. Sometimes you hear stories about people pitching or marketing stuff, right? And then, you know, I'm the type of person that doesn't believe it until I'm actually able to do it and see it myself, right? And what's cool is that this little board is able to do machine vision really easily on the device, right? And there is different ways of doing this, but there's been a lot of work that OpenMV has done in the recent months. Actually, OpenMV, Kwabena from OpenMV is one of our ARM innovators, and it's really cool to have seen like all the stuff that he's been working on lately. I mean, there's been a partnership with Arduino just announced, and they've partnered with Edge Impulse. For the ones of you that don't know what Edge Impulse is, it's a software that allows you to train neural network models, actually a neural network pipeline or a machine learning pipeline. So it's also got the ability to introduce some digital signal processing models in there, or methods in there. So what I've done today is actually taken Edge Impulse to actually train a network that then would allow me to recognize things right on the device, on the Cortex M7. So I give you the demo first. So you should be able to see, let's see if this is actually, okay, I need to press the green button here. So this is the OpenMV IDE. So you can see me, and you can tell at the bottom, it's recognizing stuff, right? Right now it's telling me I'm a what? Robert, what am I?
Where am I reading the output?
The bottom.
You're a vampire.
Oh, you're a vampire. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, because
What?
the odds of you being a pumpkin is close to 0.
Exactly. and then I've got something here.
Oh no,
What's that?
that is
Yeah.
a thing. Oh, you mean like Thing, the hand from
Yeah.
Adam? Yeah. Okay, good, nailed it. That's cool. Man, that's really realistic. I want to see that in the big screen. Why do you have a hand?
Why do I have a hand? Well, I mean, you can tell. You see, behind, I'll show you. So in the back here, can you tell there's something there?
Oh no, another hand.
Another hand. So, I mean, I didn't know where to put this one, so I just left it here.
It looks pretty realistic. It's like you got to eat, I guess. You're a vampire now, so you have to eat. Yeah, better clean up this blood too, because wouldn't want you to get a whiff of this and try to find me.
But what's really cool is that you can tell. I mean, this now is getting a bit confused, but yeah, there you go. If I look, yeah, so I'm a vampire, obviously. I mean, that's without doubt, right? But it recognizes different things. You can tell now, like pumpkin, 95, 99%, 1%, 100%, right? And then if you change, so this is happening live on device. So I've trained the network that's running on this device to actually recognize different objects, and you can train it to recognize your object, whatever objects you want in really no time, right? And I'll show you a little bit of how I did that. And kudos to OpenMV, and I'll stop this. I'll show you something else. Kudos to OpenMV and Edge Impulse and their partnership, because they make this really, really easy. So you can see here, I've created a project on Edge Impulse. I'll get the mic closer, but I created a project on Edge Impulse. I've done the data acquisition on using the OpenMV. So I've managed to acquire I think it works with a few images. So I managed to do it with about 20 images of each kind. And so I've done that right on the OpenMV, done the data acquisition, sent all the data to the to Edge Impulse, and you can see here the data. So if I click on one of those, for example, actually let me pick something else. So if I click on pumpkin, you can see that's an image that I've taken before, right? And the network has been trained on this set of images. Then I've actually created a pipeline here. You can see it here. This is a machine learning pipeline where you get basically a bunch of processing blocks. The first one is something that resizes the image basically, and makes it into a size that has been defined. The second one is actually don't know exactly what this does, but this is basically what actually creates the different images that then get fed into the neural network model. And what we've done is actually, or what OpenMV and Edge Impulse have done is they created a way for you to do transfer learning on a model, right? So this allows you to retrain the last layers of a model in a really quick and easy way without having to take a lot of data, but just by taking a few samples. And then you can see here at the end, you just basically have this 3 output here of whatever you decide. And you can see that these are the images, and then transfer learning. This is the block that does the transfer learning. You can see here it's a mobile net v2 architecture. and there are some parameters that you can set. It only takes 20 training cycles to actually train the model. I'm not going to train it now, but it's quite interesting how quickly you can actually do this. And then you can do some testing here. Let's see if I had. Let me see if I've got. So yeah, you can. So for example, I've got a series of samples that were extracted from the first series of samples that I've taken, and you can use them to actually test your model against the data that it's never seen before. So you've just seen it live, right? But before you deploy the model to your device, you could just test it on real data that has been taken, right? And it gives you, you can tell here it's all green, so it's all passed. The results are all correct. And then at the end, basically, what you get is actually you're able to generate a library that gets deployed, that can be deployed to different devices. So you can see here there are a choice of devices and a choice of software libraries that you can use. So OpenMV is the one that I use, obviously. In this case, it's a MicroPython file and a set of libraries that you can then run on your OpenMV itself. So this took me literally an hour, and I'd never done this specific exercise before of using OpenMV plus Edge Impulse. So, I'd recommend, I'll share the links later on, but I'd recommend anyone that hasn't tried this yet, that wants to do computer vision on tiny devices, to try this out. And, just to finish up, I think the last thing I wanted to say is the reason why this is super exciting is because now you're able to do stuff that before was thought of like being impossible on small devices, and you're able to do it in no time. Like, it's really easy to do this. And, effectively, the reason why you want to do this is because these devices take up almost no power, right? You could run these on battery for a long, long time. So you're able to recognize stuff out in the field with a battery without having to be connecting to power. And we've had examples. Yeah, sorry, Robert, go on.
I was going to say it's pretty cool because, you kind of jumped right into already having your models trained. But we did an episode with Kwapna and Daniel, so from Edge Impulse and OpenMV, where they went through this training process. And Alessandro's not kidding. Like, when you're talking about getting this stuff set up, the way that it's done is so streamlined now. You just basically point your camera at what you want to train, and then you hit a button, and then it takes a bunch of pictures of it and it trains it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Alessandro, but at least that's what it looked like when Kwabena was doing the training last time. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, no, that's totally correct. You can see here the images that I've taken. Actually, no, on the wrong screen. The images that I've taken before, and these are the ones that I used. It took me, no time, as you said. Like, you could just click this button down here to collect the images. It takes, it's really quick, and then you can use OpenMV to actually send. Where was it? I forgot now where it was. Here. Trying to find. There is an export. Where is it? I forgot where it is now. But there is an exporter to export everything to. Excuse me. To export everything to. Here it is. Export, and you could just upload it to Edge Impulse. So then Edge Impulse gets all that data and is able to do the classification on it, and you're able to then redeploy the model here.
I see. Very cool. I'm hopefully going to be getting an OpenMV camera someday, and then I want to try that out myself. So that's cool.
Cool. Let me take this off. And I just wanted to say, last thing is, we've had another episode with Alistair that talked about a use case that I think is super interesting. So he's doing actually camera traps to identify animals out in the field. So he's actually identifying elephants and talk about spooky. He's identifying elephants and polar bears out in the field. And the objective of that is to try and identify when the animals get too close to humans, because usually there's a conflict when that happens. So they're trying to put this really low power, low cost camera in the hands of communities that are out there in the field where there's a chance that they might encounter wild animals. and allow them to do something about it, right? Not go out when there's a wild animal. So that's, I think there's a lot of really interesting use cases for TinyML out there.
Yeah, and so some questions came up, Alessandro. I think Sahaj has an answer to this one, but maybe someone else can add to it. Morton asks, do you think the latency of this would be good enough to do position control for a robot arm?
Yeah, I think so. The thing with TinyML and what I saw in the demo was that you train it for a few specific things, and it always just looks for them. Like in the output that I could see, it was always looking for either a vampire, a pumpkin, or the thing. So that sort of reduces your compute workload, and it's all happening in real time. So yeah, I thought one thing you want to keep in mind is that the video output that you're seeing is probably being streamed back from the OpenMV cam, so the FPS doesn't look that good. But if you see just the serial output, the speed at which it calculates and gives the results
you're gonna
over and over
need-
again, I think that's pretty fast.
I mean, you did something like
should
this
be good enough,
before with I think it was a Dragon Board. Was it the RB3? Either way, I mean, when you're talking
RB3,
about
yeah.
action reaction, so like reading an environment, feeding it into a reactive robot, right? Like you're talking about manipulating, actuating an arm. You need spatial awareness too, right? Or you just need to make sure that that object is a certain amount of distance
Yep.
away, because otherwise your reaction,
Yep.
it's not going to know where it is. So you do need kind of stereo vision or some form of spatial awareness for the robot.
Yeah, the easier way to do is like have a distance sensor, any sort of distance sensor. And the more complicated way
Yeah,
would be to
and then
use
also,
stereo vision.
how big is the object that you're picking up, and so yeah, there you go, a hand. Yeah, just put some robot tentacles in there. Another question here from David. I just saw it here, and now
Just while you search for the other one, I just wanted to say to Morten, if you have something, because this is so easy to try out, if you've got something in mind, give it a try and let us know, because there are ways of optimizing, obviously, the code that runs on the device, and you obviously you can pick different Cortex M's, different microcontrollers. So give it a go and let us know what you experience, and if you need any help, shout, because we're here to help.
Yeah, and don't forget to tag us at ARM Software Dev on Twitter. Like if you do end up doing something like that, tag us on ARM Software Dev. Do hashtag Innovation Coffee, and maybe in a future episode we could feature you or something. But please do that. So here's the next.
Yeah,
you got it. Okay, yeah, go ahead, pull it up. Let's do it. There you go.
So can you do segmentation, like line detection with edge impulse as well? I'm trying to understand, I guess, the question. Lane detection.
Lane detection for like vehicles. So like staying inside lanes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't see why not. But obviously, there's a lot of variability in what you would see in a car. So I'm expecting that to be slightly more complex, and you might want to be a bit faster than what you can do on a small microcontroller in the case of a car, and also more robust, right? You want to make sure that you don't make mistakes, right? So I would say you could probably do it with a microcontroller, but perhaps it's not really the most suited device to actually do something like that.
Yeah,
that's my take. But I think from I guess depends what you're trying to do. I've seen OpenMV actually do exactly that with small little cars, right? Like robotic kind of game cars. So there's DIY robocars. If you've never seen it, go check it out. Is a community of people that race little cars around in an autonomous way, right? And OpenMV actually has its own car, and they've trained the model to recognize exactly that, like lanes, and obviously on a scale, on a smaller scale, but they do have it working, and they go quite fast actually. So yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah,
Louise is saying, she's confirming that DIY Robocar has a lot of OpenMVs on them. I would say if you're trying to do it on a serious on a real car, maybe you want to go for something a bit more robust than a microcontroller. You've got more power that you can utilize as well. So,
Yeah.
any more thoughts on that? Anyone?
Don't see any more questions there. Arjit brought up his TinyML aspirants channel. I was trying to find the actual links to everything, but yeah, I definitely think that at some point we should give that a shout out. Arjit is one of our community members, or one of the members of this great ARM ecosystem, and he has been doing a lot of amazing things. And so hopefully we can do a shout out at some point and share these links. I don't have them ready this time, Arjit, but we'll do it. We'll do it in another episode, and I'll get all those links ready, and you can send them over, and maybe we can post them here to forward people. If you're interested in TinyML, I think his Discord server is now over 100 people, so there's some cool stuff going on there. And they just launched a Reddit subreddit channel, so very cool. Congratulations. We have a comment here from Morton. I think he's commenting back. Yeah, definitely we'll try this. Let us know.
Yeah.
So what's left? What's left? I mean, you and Dara didn't share scary stories. I think me and Sahaj only did. So are we going to do that, or?
Dara, you got one? You ready?
Yeah, I got it. One I just preparing. I got kind of two. One in a mountain, and another one where I nearly broke my arm. Let me share my screen. Oh, it's not shared. Okay, let me share it. So yeah, let me start with the one in the mountain. So, as you know, I live in Switzerland, and I want to talk about a former military data center. Are you sharing the screen?
Oh, here. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
So, so I know I'm Irish, but I've been like 10 years in Switzerland, and I used to work for a Bitcoin company, and, back in the days when people were like, "Oh, we need to have our data secure in mountains," where the understanding of having something physically in a secure box with a mountain on top of it has the perception of that's secure online, and so we were, I can talk about this one because the company's gone bust and everything, and so there is in the mountains in Switzerland there is a lot of military installations in the which are redundant. So back in the Cold War times they drilled into mountains and made huge installations, and this one is out in Canton Uri in the middle of nowhere. So if you drove through Switzerland down to Milan, you would basically pass through this area, and this one is called Attinghausen. It used to be Titalis. Used to have in here. You have the control kind of security thing. You can see they extended the building. Basically, you go through the main door here, and then in the back you have the entrance. And what it does, it looks like is this is inside. It looks like a normal data center inside. It looks like this has outside, and so this is the first entrance you have there. So here you go in and you identify yourself actually at the first. But what's interesting now, Proton Mail.
I'm familiar. I'm familiar with Proton Mail.
Yeah, this is one of the locations of Proton Mail.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and they talked about it. And they show it. And I remember, when we were moving in, Proton Mail was moving in, and I mean, they were like coming with trucks of servers and everything, and then with security and all. And I was like, why do you need this? And it was really, it's like the Swiss Fort Knox for data, but it's I don't think it's operational anymore. Looks normal data center, you go in, but basically we were installing our stuff in here. That's interesting, blurred out. And he said you go in and it looks like normal data center just are. But then here you start to get interesting, start to have more of the characteristics from the Cold War kind of military bunker. With this huge door and everything. And it really takes 30 minutes from the moment you get through the initial gate to the rack you want to work with. It's like a 30-minute, kind of 20-30-minute walk. It's a good 600-700 meters in there going left and right. And what we were doing is we were, installing our servers. we took the train to the mountains and it was nice. They had power so we could configure the switch and configure the router and everything while on this 2-hour train journey through the mountains. That was quite fun. Yeah, we had this. I mean, for this you don't need internet, so it's okay. Just console cable, program away. Great, we'll be finished soon. Let's do a hike after it. And what was interesting enough is, I mean, you can imagine it's the new data center being set up. We got everything racked. We had it ready in the lab, so we didn't have to just do much. But what we weren't ready was the uplink. And once we brought this live, and of course you're plugging into a live system. The upstream provider didn't have what we call PGP prefix. They didn't protect on their side what we would announce to our IP addresses, and we ended up announcing some big range that was more than what they provided, and it took down the whole center for like a moment of 15 minutes.
Wow.
And that was the minute that they said, okay, now is a quiet period in operations and everything. Let's go out and have a barbecue. So the operations guys were physically outside the data center having a grill and said, hey, when you guys get finished up, come on out. You can come to the terrace and we have a grill and everything and you finish. And right then we had no idea, because when you go in there, you don't have cell phone coverage, so you have to rely on the fact that you check on their internet, and that was scary as hell because their place was about 50% full, and we ended up creating an outage on both their active and redundant. So you have links here and active, both active. So both stacks of the network just went back, really down. And that was that barbecue ended quickly. But that was the first. Yeah, that was the 7 raffle. We had everything shipped up front, and then just took the train there once all the boxes were there. That was cool. I missed those days racking and stacking physical stuff, but a lot of cable work, a lot of kind of hacking. So that's the data center thing. The
Yeah, that'd be
second,
terrifying. That'd be terrifying. You took down an entire data center.
well, I get a little one, and the funny thing is kind of concurrent to the idea that it's in the mountains, it should be secure, and it's like again human error. Sorry, misunderstanding, and then you bring it down. But you can read about it in this blog. Very interesting place to know about. Oh, there's the water. I forgot to show. They actually cool everything with the stored heat. There's the tunnel down into it. When you walk into it, really, and it makes it. I'd love to put like a restaurant in there, some sort of hotel. Big class. This is these huge caverns they have, and just full of water. It's just cold water.
Water?
Stored. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So
I go
they
swimming
cool
in
the
there. That was
water.
nice and clear.
Oh yeah, that's right. This is the glacier water coming down. It's coming down off the Tootie in the mountains there, and then it gets through the limestone rock and everything, and it's really there's very little minerals or anything in it. So this is why it doesn't get algae or anything. So it's crystal clear. I mean, it's a good 4 or 5 meters there, and also goes like this, down. It's the whole sphere. So yeah, you can really feel spooky in there. There's some of the old operation stuff to keep in contact there, but then again, it looks like a normal data center with the rest of the stuff. I mean, this could be in town. It's not something special. Yeah. Anyways, so that was that scary thing back then. The other scary thing you could probably see on YouTube. So I initially was a big fan of industrial robots. Did a lot there. This is an old robot I acquired about 12, 15 years ago. You can see the old monitor giving it the age. And this thing is powered by 400 volt DC motors. So the old brushed type DC motors. And at the time I was figuring out how to calibrate it and get it up and running and moving. And I had the whole thing pulled apart. This is what the setup looked like. So you had the old, the motor controller here. It actually runs on a PDP-11 build. So 11 megahertz, like the old, you remember the old PDP-11s you would find, these old computers. People now kind of rebuild them. You can even buy a kit to rebuild it. It essentially runs on this. This is, 211 megahertz microprocessors, with your EEPROM and all the different ROMs. So you have actually out here is the math code processors. I think here you can add an extra one. And, this is actually board is actually made in Ireland. If you actually look on the side of it, DEC, Digital Equipment Corporation, used to be out on the west coast of Ireland, and these are one of the boards they've developed. And this is kind of what it looks like when it's racked up on a bus. So what you'd have is you'd have your so the thing I learned kind of computers with this stuff, and what I find exciting about it is that you really visually see how, like, even a microcontroller is built off. I mean, you have here the microprocessor board with the two microprocessors. Let's say one core, another core. Then you have the math coprocessor inside. Then here you would have maybe a parallel, bus system. This would be maybe the memory board, EEPROM board. This looks like a TTL UART board as well, 4 serial ports with maybe 6, 7 pins. So you're thinking about TX, RTX, DTR, RTX. So like request to send, so that's why a serial port has so many ports, because so many pins, not just TX or X, because you have to say, are you ready to receive something? Request to send, and that comes back to this time, because you have to be ready to receive the data. You can't just, they didn't really have huge, buffers. And so when you break out the system like this, you can actually see it. So it has 2 8-bit buses down the bottom that, a backplane that these switch into. And so that basically powered this 6-axis industrial robot. And the drives in the back, this is one of the drives sitting here actually, there's really big ones, and they have this potential difference of 400 DC volts to do the pulse width modulation, and you could hear it in your ears because it wasn't such a high frequency. But one of the tasks I had to do is recalibrate the encoders on the back. So it has a PID controller, and the way it's built up is you have very much like an analog to digital converter. Then you have the signal looking at the encoders coming in, and the different waveforms coming in. Then you have also the analog digital converter monitoring the current coming in and out. So there's multiple PID loops, multiple closed loop controls. And what I did is I said, okay, I'm not going to move this arm around 20 times. I'm just going to rotate the coder with a little pencil. When the arm was active, hot, as in it's just, the brakes are off, it's standing like this, it's kind of vibrating a bit because it's, keeping the weight of the arm, and the pulse width modulation is moving so that it's like 50, 70, 30%, so that the weight of the arm doesn't, fall down. And then I started to kind of like, okay, let me just rotate this and get the shaking, load. It's quicker to do that. But anyway, the encoder fell off, and then the thing just wrapped it around over my head, and I, let myself fall, so I didn't, so I wouldn't, get hurt. But of course, normally you don't enter the cage where the robot is in this scenario. I felt too confident with the system, and then one of these little yellow things just fell off when I was just doing it, and I was standing kind of under this, where the bike is there, down there. The thing just flew over my head. I was like, Jesus, wow. This was scary. That's kind of scared me away from working with big machines.
Lucky you're okay.
Huh?
Lucky you're okay.
Yeah, and that resulted me, like, let me scour YouTube, not YouTube, eBay, and I did, and this is also on the camera here. That's the baby version. So this is the ultimate, PMI 700. This is the 200. See? This guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because my parents were like, "Hey, just really buy a small one," So this is a small one. I'll show you. Yeah, that's a small one. Oh, it's hard to see it. Oh yeah, here we go. There. That's the smallest baby. So exactly.
Says Carlo's writing, Dara could have his own Netflix special just talking about cool engineering stories like these. Dara guest spot on Innovation Coffee once a month, or we launch a new live stream. Dara's I don't know. Can call it something.
I don't know. You could call it Dara's Daily Rant.
There you go. Dara's Daily Rant. Yeah.
These are stories. I was supposed to tell my story, but I feel like there's nothing else I could say now. Like after this, it's like, how do you top this, right? It's like, I don't know. I don't have any big machines. I mean, I could just tell a quick one and then we close. But I could tell maybe it's not really. I mean, it's spooky in some ways, I guess, in a nerdy way. But remember, I was working on on I did physics, and I was working on this physics it's a physics basically big kind of particle detector. And my work was to try and detect photons that were emitted by particles hitting other material, basically, or other particles. And we had this. I remember when I set up the system, I had these silicon photomultipliers, and it was actually quite spooky when I got to detect the first few photons in this silicon photomultiplier, because you're not expecting something like so crazy to actually just work, right? It blew my mind. I remember when I built it and I set it up and I detected the first photons. I was like, wow, it's something you don't actually. Obviously, you see photons in light, right? But you don't really see the single photon or a bunch of photons usually. So it was quite cool to be able to detect something so small, so tiny. So yeah, the impression when I did that was quite interesting.
Yeah, but can you imagine the amount of impressions people had, way back in the time in what would I call it? Like way back in the Cold War time when technology was being developed before the internet, there was the thing called the Demon Core. Demon Core. Have you heard of the Demon Core?
No.
So Demon Core nuclear. So the Demon Core is one of the scariest things that I think not just nuclear bomb experts, but of course the nuclear bombing, building nuclear bombs and having this uranium and bringing it critical and supercritical. Of course, this is developed out of labs and stuff. But they also use this to develop photographs and develop film. And the Demon, this specific test device which had plutonium 89 and enhanced uranium. It became known as Putin core because it was killing scientists. And there I have it on the screen. I can share you the link. But basically, it was anyone who started to say, "Hey, can I have access to the core and work with it?" And some of these guys, thought they were, cool. We're working on the edge of things, like, hey, I'm doing, developer related. Let's make a chance here. Let's, but you don't play with something that can go super critical. But they did, and they ended up getting nuclear uranium exposure, the radiation exposure, up to, I don't know, 500 rod cans or something, really high, like a whole life's worth of radiation in 2 minutes, and it became nicknamed the Demon Core. I love this. I mean, I know
that. I know the Demon Core story. It was a part of the Manhattan Project. I watched like the whole World War II series there, and that Demon Core, it's pretty gnarly because as you start, I believe it's like you have to keep them separated by a certain amount of distance, and as they get closer, the radioactiveness of the core gets more and more, right? And there's many people who have died just by simply touching it.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty crazy.
Here you see the picture. I don't know.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's the. Oh, sorry. There you go. Yeah, that's the Demon Core. And it's funny because so first of all, if you're in the right region of the world, that offers the World War, I think it's the World War II. It's the World War II, like all in full color or something. The last episode, something like that, about the nuclear bombs. They cover this extensively in that particular Netflix series. And this guy right here, what he's doing, or this person, I don't know if it's a guy, but this person here, the methods because they didn't understand it fully, and even what they did really understand, like they took so many shortcuts in actually doing these tests. What he's doing there he's not supposed to be doing that. Like the way that he's just separating it with like a screwdriver or this tool, like there's so many things that they did wrong, and people died from it. Like lots of people died from it.
Yeah, experimentation.
Experimentation. Yeah. So Alessandro, I think we should close this out. I think we've run over about 8 minutes, but
we're quite spooky today, right? So I think we did our job well.
Yes, definitely. But I mean, real quick, I'll summarize. We talked about some spooky stories. We all shared some spooky stories about things that have happened in our life. We had a cool demo, Alessandro, awesome demo on TinyML and Edge Impulse using the Open MV camera, and then Sahaj floated around. the screen with his head. We got to see some severed limbs, and I think it was fun episode with y'all. I appreciate that. It was awesome. There we go. Oh, Dara, you want to introduce some people here?
You want to who you dressed up as?
Celine.
But who you spooky? Who's your avatar? Your
Vampire bats.
Oh, vampire bat.
Ooh.
Alessandra, you and her will be friends.
Yes. I'm drinking blood.
what?
He's a real vampire.
Hey, don't forget to show your tricks, Robert, before we close off.
You can take some blood. Let's see right here. Take some blood from this cup right here. Next episode, I'm gonna have more of these things. It's not gonna be blood related, but
Yeah.
I gotta figure out how to do some more cool stuff like this.
Cool.
Blend it like this
Awesome.
stuff.
Guys, it was awesome. It was good to do this with you guys. And, I wasn't expecting Dara to come fully dressed up. Thank you.
And the kids,
And you kept the mask on the whole time. I'm impressed.
Yeah, and your children dressed up as well, so it's awesome. So even more than just you, right?
yeah, well, they copied me. I was getting the dresses. They said, "Oh, I want to dress up too." And it's like, okay. But sorry, I wanted to bring the rat on as well. We have a few pet rats, but did they wake up yet? Did they?
Yes, it did.
Yeah, okay. But we're already out of time. I think we'll have to do it another time.
Oh,
Yeah, we can, next Halloween.
that's gonna take years.
Yeah.
Just one
We're
year.
gonna have 3 evenings of Halloween now till the weekend. I know it.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. And it was really awesome to have you on. And again, until next time, guys. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Happy Halloween, everyone. And thank you so much. Viewers out there, check us out. Take care. Subscribe and like.
Yeah.
Happy Halloween.
Uh,